Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are jumping right into a massive financial ripple caused by, honestly, a pretty wild tech rumor. It's the kind of rumor that forces us to completely rethink the device you are probably holding in your hand right this very second. We're talking about the whispers of an OpenAI smartphone. But as you'll see, the real story we're diving into isn't just about the hardware itself. It's about a fundamental shift in how we actually interact with intelligence.
I mean, just look at the sheer market power of a rumor. Qualcomm's stock recently spiked by an impressive 8% right at the start of the week. And get this, it wasn't driven by a new product launch or a massive earnings beat or some confirmed merger. No, it was sparked entirely by a single report from a widely followed tech analyst. Literally, just the mere mention of a potential new player in the smartphone space was enough to send shockwaves through the market.
And here's the exact claim that set everything off. Tech analyst Ming-Chi stated, and I quote, "OpenAI is working with MediaTek and Qualcomm to develop smartphone processors. Mass production is expected in 2028. Now, he didn't cite specific sources, and neither OpenAI nor Qualcomm have confirmed this. But what makes this so fascinating is that 2028 is a long way out. While OpenAI has definitely shown interest in hardware before, the idea of a full-blown smartphone by 2028 immediately sparked intense debate and, understandably, a whole lot of skepticism among tech industry observers.
And as you'd expect, the tech community's reaction was swift. Commentators rightly questioned the logic of all this. People pointed out that a stock jump like that feels like trading a rumor, not a product. Others argued, hey, OpenAI isn't historically a hardware company. But the absolutely most prominent question, and the one we really need to unpack today, is simply why? Why on earth would anyone buy a dedicated AI phone when tools like ChatGPT are already available on the devices we currently own? Why not just use an iPhone? It's a completely fair question, but honestly, it kind of misses the bigger picture.
So let's dive into this. Section 1. The app launcher problem. Why our current devices are stuck in the past. To really understand why an AI phone matters, we first need to define the problem with the status quo and redefine what a modern smartphone actually is today.
Seriously, take a hard look at your phone. It hasn't fundamentally changed in a decade, right? A modern smartphone is, essentially, just a highly polished app launcher. You tap a little square, you enter a siloed application, you do a task, and then you leave. The intelligence is totally isolated inside those individual applications. The phone itself isn't actually smart. It's basically a centralized black box acting as a middleman between you and dozens of completely disconnected services.
Which brings us to Section 2, buried privacy and centralized black boxes, the hidden cost of modern smartphones. Because that intelligence is siloed in these black boxes, users face a series of incredibly frustrating pain points every single day.
We've all kind of just accepted this daily privacy nightmare as, well, normal. Right now, keeping track of your permissions means digging through settings menus buried so deep in the user interface it's like a giant puzzle. We get confusing, hard-to-read privacy reports, hidden toggles, and those tiny little tracking indicators. There's just a massive lack of true transparency on how our data is actually being used. And let's be real, absolutely nobody has the time or energy to constantly monitor their settings to see which app is quietly listening or tracking their location.
So here's the really crucial point. Under our current smartphone model, to get any real value out of AI today, we are basically forced to surrender all our personal information upward to giant cloud networks. We trade our privacy to a centralized monolith just to get a helpful map route or a smartly sorted photo album. The power dynamic is entirely stacked against us, the users.
Section 3. Not an iPhone killer. Reimagining the hardware category entirely. Let's see how this builds into the actual solutions proposed by some really sharp industry observers. Because if OpenAI is building a device, the goal isn't what most people assume.
There's a massive shift in perspective we need to make here. The flawed expectation is that OpenAI is trying to build an iPhone killer. Listen, if they try to beat Apple at being Apple, with polished consumer ecosystems and fancy camera hardware, they will probably lose. But the actual opportunity here is entirely different. It's creating a local intelligence node. The OpenAI phone doesn't need to beat Apple. It just needs to serve as a decentralized AI node. It's not about replacing the smartphone as we know it. It's about creating a completely new category of device.
The true vision is an AI-native companion device. Think of it like a second brain. In this setup, the AI assistant isn't just an app you launch. It is the actual operating layer of the device itself. It serves as a local, highly accountable interface between you, the machine, and the broader internet. The intelligence lives primarily right there on the device, working specifically for you rather than working for the cloud. Section 4, the conversational privacy era. Taking back control of your data. This brings us to perhaps the most fascinating shift of all, turning those buried, confusing settings menus into a direct conversational interface.
Imagine, instead of digging through your settings, just asking your phone out loud from your morning commute, "Hey, which app accessed my microphone while I was driving?" Your device, acting as your local node, instantly audits its own behavior and just tells you.
Or, asking it, what personal data was sent to the cloud today? You're suddenly able to transparently list exactly what information left your device and went out to the internet. You aren't relying on some confusing weekly screen time report. You are having a direct, plain English conversation with your hardware about its own telemetry.
You could even command it to be proactive. You could say, "Can you summarize anything suspicious?" Or tell it to block all recordings in certain modes unless you manually approve them. Your phone stops being this passive app launcher and literally becomes your personal, local security guard.
And you realize this goes way beyond just convenience, right? This creates true device accountability. Making privacy conversational, inspectable, and completely understandable brings an unprecedented level of accountability directly into the palm of your hand. It flips the dynamic entirely, so the device finally answers to you, not to the app developers.
And this brilliantly illustrates why this matters so much. As one insightful analysis put it, the goal is not one giant AI watching everyone, but millions of personal AI companions helping individuals. As AI becomes the core infrastructure of our daily lives, we desperately need personal AI advocates to protect our data locally, helping us interact with larger systems without just surrendering everything upward.
So whether OpenAI actually releases a phone in 2028 or someone else entirely pioneers this category, the concept of a decentralized AI-native device is incredibly powerful. I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought. If your phone eventually becomes an accountable, personal AI advocate that successfully secures your data locally, what happens to the massive, multi-billion-dollar tech industry built entirely on tracking your every single move? It's a question that could absolutely redefine the future of technology. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the technology you use every day.